Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremony, for your kindness on an invitation. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, well, we have gone quite a long way from the opening to the poems of Dato Prof. Haloen, to the recipient of the award, later Professor Levet, right? And now it is timely to call upon the next speaker. She will be discussing about philosophy of wealth, well-being, and life fulfillment. Confucius say, if you need more money, then you need more power. Then if you need more power, then you need more money. And it never ends. And I think Professor Maheran is the most scholar person to speak about this money, happiness, wealth, and fulfillment. I read shortly her CV given here to me for 10 pages, but I just read for one paragraph. Sorry, Prof, one paragraph. Professor Maheran Muhammad is currently a professor and dean of Student Affairs and Alumni at University Malaysia Kelantan. Prior joining to UMK in April 2012, she has been 10 years working experience in University Technology Mara, I think, and the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia. She started her career as an investment analyst at the Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange after graduation in 1989, and soon in 1991 joined Malaysian Public University. She graduated with a Bachelor in Business Administration, specializing in finance from University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, USA. Master in Business Administration from University Utara Malaysia, and Doctor of Business Administration from University Science Malaysia. Professionally, she is a CITM, Chartered Institute Taxation of Malaysia members, also members to Financial Planning Association of Malaysia and Institute of Bankers Malaysia, and a Distinguished Fellow of Global Strategic Management Incorporated, USA. Along her career with UITM, she has taught courses in taxation, finance, banking, and management. And I think she is the one most scholar person to keynote us on money, power, well-being, and life fulfillment at this time. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Professor Maheran. So guests, please welcome her to deliver her speech in Money, Power, Well-being, and Life Fulfillment. Professor, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Associate Professor, Moderator today. Thank you to Professor Igor Karashan, the President of WPF. Dr. Haloen, where is he? Our well-known with, he wants us to call him Abang Mat, the Vice President. Dr. Stephen, Prof. Jeffrey, speakers, participants, and not to forget the community members of this World Philosophy Forum 2008, for Philosophy Day 2018, and thank you for inviting me. I have spoken to many this morning, also last night, to say, who am I to speak in front of you today? I'm not a philosopher. You know, my background is all realist. I'm not even hold a doctorate in philosophy. I was holding doctorate in business admin. So I asked Nizar, why do you invite me? I'm not a philosopher. But when I met Prof. Stephen, Prof. Igor, I feel like, oh my God, I should be within their serenity. Being a philosopher is actually giving you times to talk, to give thoughts about yourself. And 1 month after getting the invitation, I still lost of what I'm supposed to speak. Suddenly, the spark comes into our country, and seen abundance of Birkins, Hermes possessed by someone, and the billions of dollars under the bed and pillows of someone. And many of our ministers seems to be involved in black money. Then I ask myself, what do they want in life? What do they look at themselves with having billions of dollars will make them happy? So because of that, I come across my mind to say, what if I speak today on philosophy of wealth related to self-well-being and life fulfillment? So today, I understand of what Prof. Jeffrey has been spoken earlier, that life is about being philosophical. Everybody has their own way of thoughts about life. But again, we are in 21st millennium. We are in a capitalism state where without money, no talk. No money, no talk. So today, just want to share a little bit of my thought. And of course, today I would like to listen to any sharing. I'm not sure even if I can answer your question, but I hope there's someone who can share with me, because this is part of our life. And I would like to just a little bit share what I think about life. What is philosophy of life behind my thought, yeah? So for me, and I'm sure many of us also think the same, philosophy of life means something which embrace. Okay, probably next slide. Okay. Something which embrace one whole life, one's mind and one's way of life. And for me, philosophy of life is about love and being loved. It's about give and take and whole human existence. Our life is not in isolation. We may not live without having people around us. So we are connected to each other. Life is irreplaceable. Nobody can replace yourself. You are you, me and me, but we are interconnected. And of course, other lives are connected to our life. So again, I put the meanings of life philosophically is related to our life is ours and it's irreplaceable. So maybe among all of us here, you have your own definition of life. But again, this is what it meant for us to be living in this world. Okay, so the next one. I just would like to talk about a little bit, okay, being an academician, when I come up with the ideas of what is actually life for us, for me, and for every one of us here, I would like to discuss a little bit about what is previous scholars have taught about life, about well-being particularly. So again, the fundamental of philosophy of life that's connected to self-well-being or social well-being was started since probably 17th, 18th centuries, where Jeremy Bentham, yeah, I tried to Google and I found these pictures. I don't know him, but I suppose that is him. He came up with the idea that self-well-being or life fulfillment of individuals depends on whether you have pleasure or you have pain, which he terms as hedonism theory. I'm sure who are in the philosophy of life ever heard about hedonism. So according to Bentham, they said, pleasure or enjoyment is the only thing that ultimately makes a life worth living. So that's why when we watch movies, old movies during, Hercules time or maybe zaman-zaman Kesultanan Melaka, they didn't portray so much about how much money they've got, but how many women is around them. Because women indicate enjoyment and pleasure. Men may be agreed, but women have to agree as well. We cannot deny that hedonism theory says people are happy and feel that their life is being fulfilling when they have pleasure and enjoyment. However, when people getting more and more embraced into life fulfillment, there are always somebody object towards hedonism theory to say that, hey, look, human got brain and pleasure is differ from one to another. So John Stuart Mill come with the idea that we are not swine, we are not animals. Human and animals have different capacities for pleasure. So he come with a terminology called the philosophy of swine. Yeah, animals only looks at pleasure as part of their well-being. But does human being as well follow the animals? This is actually things that why our nation, our country never in peaceful, because we are now just like swine or animals. And second one, there is another theory come from Nozick 1974 to say that happiness cannot be equated with pleasurable experience. We cannot just plug in and feel the pleasures and plug out like a machine. It has to be realistic. But I think those who are into drugs, those who are into things that wants to have short-term pleasure, this is actually what Nozick has been saying about experience machine. But in reality, human is not an experience machine. And before coming up with the new, what so-called very distinguished and acceptable theory, Heathwood 2006 come with the idea that hedonism can't guarantee resonance unless it's interpreted subjectively. Meaning, how can you measure pleasure? Because pleasure is from the inside. So he come out with the idea, what they call it, the resonance concepts, okay, the resonance constraint. All right, so this is the earliest of what well-being has been theorized. People are associated with pleasure and enjoyment. Maybe because at that time, it is only bartered to be traded. Things upon things, and fiat money is not into practice yet. So that is actually what people are looking for. The next theory, Heathwood, which is against Betham, saying that, hey, the fundamentals of life philosophy for self-well-being is upon the desire of the individual. So he came up with the idea of desire fulfillment. You don't need to get pleasure to be well off. You just need to get what you want, whatever it is related to one's attitude. Thank you. So, what you desired and you get what you desired is what you will feel the self-well-being. So, the desire fulfillment theory is in the form of subjectivism, according to Heathwood. So that means the attitude, the feelings of whether you are satisfied with what you want and you get what you desired, that is actually what self-well-being is all about. And I think all of us may be able to agree or disagree with Heathwood. So, social well-being, self-well-being is about what is inside you, about your attitude of accepting it. However, this theory is acceptable by many, especially those who related to aim achievement theories, value realization theories, happiness theories, subjective hedonism theories, and those who are in PhDs who are into this, there are a lot of theories that are associated to life well-being. And now, people are measuring happiness index, where it was found that Finland is #1 in the happiness index. And Singapore is among also the highest in Asia. So probably because other things is inside their heart. What they desired, they achieve it. Okay. So that is the second theory of self-well-being. The last theory, I mean, of course, there will be the third theory, I could say, because the last one, maybe somebody out here or even myself can come up with a new theory. But the third theory says, hey, look, this is capitalism. Yours. Like I said earlier, no money, no talk. So not the attitude, but the list of needs is actually important to individuals now to say, hey, I'm achieve my self-well-being. So money and power are more associated to well-being in the 20th and 21st centuries. So this comes from what we call Objectivism Theory. Subjective is not enough. That's why in the Instagram you can see a lot of people showing off what they have, what they eat, where they go. So that is an example of Objectivism Theory. It has to be objective. It has to be seen. Hey, I'm wearing Birkins, Hermes. That can be seen that I am highly or socially well-being. I cannot just, have it inside my heart subjectively. Then people don't know whether I am in a good state or not. So that is what Objectivism Theory is all about. Good or bad for us do not essentially involve our attitude, but the list of objective needs, according to NERA, that shows self-well-being. That's why branded items is well sold. Not because of its quality, because of its prestigious. Well-being is the result of a number of objective conditions of person rather than the subjective experience of pleasure or the fulfillment of subjective desire. Now, it is not about desire anymore. It is about how can you show that what you need is being achievable. And of course, with this new world, Bray says that acquiring goods or doing things on the list makes one's life better, even if one does not desire or want them. I want to tell people that I've got lots and lots of money. And now we have technology to show what we have. So that will make some people, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying that some people feel that, I'm achieve my self-fulfillment. So that is what Objectivism Theory is all about. Okay. Again, Objectivism central tenets on reality exists independently to consciousness. So in our brain, we have conscious mind, we have subconscious mind. But the subconscious mind is control our conscious mind. That is what Objectivism Theory says. That's why emotion has controlled our cognitive behavior. So this is what happened to our country, where money is just like water. Next. So when we relate well-being, when we relate wealth on how people look at the world, looking at the ontological and epistemological of wealth and well-being, the objectivism theory is more associated because they want to see the tangible rather than the intangible. And Ayn Rand, in 1990, has wrote a book called The Virtue of Selfishness with the Living. So even though Ayn Rand's theory is being objected by many, but still, if you look at on what happened to this world, what has been written by Ayn Rand, I could say 89.9% true. What Rand says is that in this 21st century, man as a heroic being with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity and reasons as his only absolute. What it means is that people are getting selfish and selfish. What they think about is himself. What they think is absolutely what he can gather to make himself fulfilled. In a way, I think what Rand has been saying is almost true everywhere. It seems to be true in our country. It seems to be true that money has made us blind. Because sometimes we ask ourselves, when is enough? How much is enough? What threshold is sufficient for all of us? $100? $1 million? $1 trillion? So, because of that selfishness that makes people always insufficient of their thresholds. So, according to Rand, he said human relations in civilized society now are regulated and structured through money. And it is true enough. Have you watched the film by Michael Douglas, Wall Street in 1987? Gordon, he knows that what he's doing is wrong, but he still do it. He knows that he will go in the cliff if he continue the black money, so-called, but he still do it. So this is because the unconscious mind is control the conscious mind. This is what Rand theory is all about. So, next. So this is Rand. He wrote a few books. He's a novelist, by the way. So he said our nations were obsessed with the more we get, the more we want, even if our greed threatens to destroy us. So it really shows in the story of Wall Street. Greediness that makes us selfish, makes us forget about who we love behind us. So Rand again emphasized on in her book to say that man has the power to act as his own destroyer. Man's mind in his basic tools of survival, life is given to him, but survival is not. His body is given to him, its sustenance is not. His mind is given to him, its content is not. So this is actually how money can kill us, and power that create money. It's the other way around. It's money create power, power create money that sometimes destroy us if we misuse it. So there are many of us who are willing to buy titles. For example, we're willing to pay for datukship just because we want power. We're willing to bribe because we want power. So again, all of it is related to money. So this is what Rand has been said about objectivism theory. So objectivism theory, all in all, is what we are now. We are not only looking at what well-being is all about subjectively, but well-being is about the objective needs that we can show the list of what we have. Big house, fancy dress, handphones, or whatever. Or even we pay for our fame as well as our glamorous. Again, next. So how does all this relate to well-being and self-fulfillment? What is actually the definition? Some says that well-being is about happiness. I'm happy. I am so happy that I was invited today to be in front of you. And I think I fulfill of what I need as a professor. I never expect at first that this conference will turn out to be like this. I thought it's just like when we went to the internationals, it's just like a small group of philosophers changing the ideas of themselves. But, you know, this is beyond my expectation. And I'm so happy. And I'm grateful. So happiness is the only important thing about life according to Bradburn. This is originally how well-being is being defined. But later, Rees, Goswami, and a few more says, hey, you may not be happy if you don't have quality of life. If you don't have a life that's worth for you to live. If you don't have good health, if you don't have personal belief, if you don't have relationship. We don't live in isolation. We want partners. We want companion. So that is what the good life is all about, according to Rees, Goswami, and Bradshaw in his study, to see that happiness won't occur if we don't have this life that we're worth living. Again, recently, happiness, quality of life is just the internal part of individuals. If you cannot make yourself significant to others, don't tell that you are successful. So that's why in the hierarchy of life philosophy, it begins with survival. We want to live for survivability. We want a few dollars to eat and to have shelter and, of course, to buy clothing. Later on, we strive. We strive for security. We have money, we have shelter, we have partners that we loved, and we want to be secure. We got that. The security is there. Again, we want to prove that we are more successful by having big house, big cars, and of course, a good position. So, survivability, security, and success is what people look at to achieve self-well-being. In some people, they said, hey, you are not yet successful. You are not yet fulfilling your worth of living if you are not significant to others. Meaning, what you have should be shared by the community. So, according to Shah and Marx, he said, well-being is more than just happiness, as well as feeling satisfied and happy. Well-being means developing as a person, being fulfilled, and making a contribution to the community. So you can tell that different definition and different perspective of self-well-being by many people based on studies done previously and now. But of course, tepuk dada tanya selera. Which one are you? I'm sure everybody has different definition for themselves. And of course, I'm here just want to share of what other people think. And you yourself should be able to say to yourself, what am I worth in this world to live? Okay, next. Do I still have time? Yes. Okay. Again, we know when we are happy, when we have quality of life, and when we are significant to the community, we achieve social and self-well-being. But what money got to do with it? Some people say, hey, look, money is not important. I can live without money. And some people willing to get married to those who has money, who don't have money, as long as the spouse or the companion loves her or him. Do you think they can live ever after just with love? Maybe in the 15th and 16th century, but not in this 20th and 21st century. So that's why even Rand, even a few philosophers saying that money is killing, power is destroying, but still many people say money is needed, even though it is not the main important factors. But again, there are a few what they call it, statements about money. So let's look at on what those old people, I don't know whether, I'm sure that he is no longer in this world, Otto Schopenhauer, am I pronounce it right? He said, money is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become. And the same is true for fame. Money is human happiness in the abstract, just an abstract. Then, who is no longer capable of enjoying human happiness in the concrete devotes himself utterly to money. What does it mean? I could say, authors has been saying that you will never, money will give you enough. Lagi banyak, I still remember my nenek-nenek once upon a time. Okay? Nak cerita nenek sikit dekat kampung saya, kecek Kelantan lah sikit. Saya ni keturunan bangsawan lah, I could say. Nama Nick kan, Nick. Nick ni sama ada dia keturunan raja, ayahnya orang biasa, mak dia raja, ataupun tukang basuh berak raja. Zaman dulu dia pun bagilah nama Nick. Sebab dia nak angkat. I don't know which one is mine. But anyway, I remember my moyang, dia sanggup untuk tidak makan just because dia nak beli tanah harta untuk kononnya bawa sebagai pesaka kepada anak-anak. And he never got enough. From one tanah to another. From one, this is, I don't know him, but my father's story me all this. And when he died, all those land was sold by my grandfather. Because why? Because he don't feel treasure of having those because he got it for free. But when you have yours, you want to keep it more and more and more until you die. You're never able to bring it to your sehingga ke liang lahat and somebody enjoy it and finish it in one shot. So this is why some people say money can kill you and power can destroy you.
8 more minutes, Prof.
Okay. So Soren in 80s also said, in the end, money will be the one thing people will desire, which is moreover only representative and abstraction. So again, all in all, money, according to many scholars, to say is driven to something which is kill people and destroying people. All right, next. This is actually one thing that I like the terms to say that the philosophy of money is related to rat race. The more you run, you are still a rat. So this is actually what they state here, all right? They said, they are raising their threshold of sufficiency and decreasing their rate of happiness. Hamilton says, thresholds of individuals never stops, never sufficient. So the more you ask for money, the more unhappiness you will get because you make other people unhappy. Okay, so I just want to share to you what I have proposed, okay, from all the literatures, all the studies done by the previous, a model which I term it as life fulfillment model. Okay. Oh, can you see? All right. This is relationship between wealth, well-being, and self-fulfillment. So, some people disagree that well-being is associated to pleasure and enjoyment. Same thing, that well-being is when you get what you desired. Or well-being is when you are able to list all your needs and achieve all your needs. But for me, I think all three is required in order for you to be happy, satisfied, and of course, you achieve your self-well-being. Definitely when you're looking at the first hedonism theory, people require sex, enjoyment. I'm sure those who are not married, you will feel you should. Because you go and ask father, pakcik-pakcik kat sini, what is actually life is all about. Need a companion and need that pleasurable things that those who are actually encounters can understand. Tanpa companion, tanpa love, you may not be able to feel that you are worth living in this world. Second is desire. And of course, I'm sure everybody is looking for power. At least I am powerful today, being able to hold this rostrum and speak in front of every one of you. At least I think I am taking care enough of myself, of desire to be beautiful, a desire to be famous, and a desire to be, of course, holding certain position. So if you have that, definitely you will feel that your life is being fulfilled. And everybody wants big houses, everybody wants to have beautiful wife, handsome husband, and all the list that will never stop. And all those is actually achievable with hard work and without stepping on other people's head. Now, where's the money in this model? Again, being a finance people, I am a financial planner by profession. I was an investor once upon a time. I disagree if people say money is not important. But for me, money can enhance your self-well-being. So for those who aim to do PhD on this area, money or wealth or possession can become what we term as moderating factors towards self-well-being. So with all those, you have companion, you have love, you get what you desired. But if you have more money, the money can enhance your self-fulfillings. But again, your conscious mind or your cognitive attitudes, the values and your self-controls has to be part of your life attributes. So the factors or the concepts that I'm introduced to you today, which is actually coming from the model that I propose, is that all those who have been spoken previously by previous researchers or scholars is all true and is integrated. But in order to get self-fulfilling, truly gratefulness in your heart, you must have what we call religiosity or spirituality. I know that Christianity or Muslims or even Buddhists or even other religions is looking for peace like we have been spoken early in the morning. This only way of how can we feel grateful of what we have. But in order to do that, you must know the value of yours, the value of yourself, of how, where, and when are you going to put yourself in the position where you are significant to the community. and the cognitive attitudes as well as your self-control. Some people not able to control themselves. I could say, I am extrovert by personality. As compared to the introvert, extrovert is more spendthrift. Biar pape, asa bergaya. Prof. Steven, you may not understand. It doesn't matter if I'm no money, but I want to look good. Biar pape, asa bergaya. That is the extrovert. The introvert is vice versa. So because of that kind of personality, that usually make you wants to show off to others, and you are willing to get, which is illegal way of getting things so that you bergaya walaupun pape. So all right, that's the model. And for conclusion, I could say, next. Okay, this is just a little bit of studies done in Malaysia, all right, by May in 2016. I didn't find very much studied in Malaysian perspective about how money relates to wealth and self-fulfillment. But May in 2016 come up with the findings to say that it's always positive association between happiness and income. Yes, realitinya memang betul. The more income you got, the more enjoyable you can be, the more things you can buy, of course, the more happiness you will get. But, according to May, it's only short term. I don't know how she measured it, but she said, money can make you happy, but it's only for short term. For the long term, it has to be something else that should make you happy. And then other related factors such as health, status, employment, satisfaction on financial situation has strong significant impact on both happiness and life satisfaction. So in a way, we want to have healthy life, we want to have self-contentment, we want love, we want to be lovable. That is more than what money can do to us. Okay? And May also found that, okay, this one is Fisher, found that Malaysian environment where money or wealth will increase happiness and self-fulfillment, but at certain saturated point, money has no more meaning to happiness as other factors do. So saturated point is very, very vague, ambiguous. Is it 1 million? Is it 1 billion? Is it 2.6 billion? Or is it 1 trillion? We don't know. Okay, but again, there is studies to found that many rich people don't live happily because they have to buy everything. Even they have to buy wives. They have to buy friendship. So we need money, but money at certain threshold level, which is sufficient for us to share with the community. So for that, I think, next.
One last minute.
Okay, so for that, I would like to thank you. And I think you can read my papers. It's about 9 pages, single spacing. So those who are students who are interested to work on financial psychology, financial philosophy can meet me, and we can work on PhDs on this. Because in Malaysia, we don't have many philosophers in finance or philosophers that relates to economics or money matters. So with that, I would like to apologize if I have any mistakes or I touch anything that is sensitive, and would like again to thank you, the community, and thank you all for listening. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you to the extrovert, vibrant, and radiant Professor Maheran for her speech. And I would like to congratulate you also for being alert, not feeling sleepy, because of her vibrancy in delivering her speech. So again, a round of big applause to Professor Maheran. Well, before I proceed with the Q&A session, I just have a bit chat to audience. Hope Prof doesn't mind for 2-3 minutes. Well, people say money is not everything. However, everything needs money. It is a prophetic saying that if a man is given a valley of gold, then surely he will search for the second valley of gold, that is on wealth. On happiness, Prof. Maheran has covered many aspects of in her speech. Life is give and take, hedonism, philosophy of swine, happiness index, self-well-being, objectivism, selfish mind, rent theory, sharing, and 1MDB. Money is like water. And just to recap my statement here, once my Japanese manager asked me, Rosmaini, who is the happiest man in the world? Well, that time I'm just a poor engineer. I told him, Mr. Yamaguchi, I do not know. Please tell me. Yamaguchi-san, watashi wa wakaranai. Ja, oshiete shimasu. So he joked to me, the happiest man in the world, Prof, is the man who marries to Japanese woman. And the man who always dine Chinese cuisine. And the man who stays in UK. And the man who work for American company. For those multinational, you may make sense. And he asked me the second contemplating question. Rosmaini, who is the saddest man in the world? Watashi wa wakaranai. Onijite shimasu. So please tell me, I do not know. I tell him. The saddest man in the world is the man who marries American woman, the man who always dine British cuisine, the man who works for Chinese company, and the man who live in Japan. By that, thank you on the capping. Without further ado, I would like to invite to the floor, to the all audience, who would like to ask our our scholar professor here in finance and also in life and happiness for any question. Please, be our guest.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noor Ain from Segi University, Kota Damansara. So what an enlightening presentation from Professor. Thank you so much. So I just want to ask your opinion regarding capitalism and socialism. So everyone, we know that capitalist countries, the most successful capitalist country in the world is like USA, Germany, Japan, and Malaysia is one of them. So there are good and bad things about capitalist country. And then for socialist country, we have Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Canada, Norway are all example of socialist countries. But they are still have a pro and cons of a socialist country. For example, Venezuela is one of them, are now facing the most terrible inflation nationwide in their country currently. So based on your expertise, Professor, what is your opinion in terms of capitalism or socialism? Which one that will lead to more, greater in well-being? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Noraini, asking from Segi University on capital and socialism. So yeah, you look like a good professor in future, I think so. Then I pass to Professor to answer.
Thank you. Thank you, Noor Ain, isn't it? From Segi. Wow. I think your question is more mature than you. Anyway, again, like what our moderators has been saying, who is actually the happiest man in the world? Everybody can say anything. But when we want to compare between capitalism and socialism, if we look at on the index of happiness today, seems like Finland goes number 1. So Finland was among the socialist countries once upon a time, which is from the European side. But of course, the capitalism from the America would say, we are also happy in our own way. So all in all, maybe there maybe somebody can help me on answering on their own perspective. All in all, I could say happiness depends on the individual. How you put yourself, how your brain think is where your energy goes. If your brain think that you are not happy, then you'll be slouching and you don't feel like you are happy. But if your brain says, I'm happy, even though I have only $1 in my pocket, then your energy will show that you are happy. So I believe that who actually makes you happy is yourself. Whether it's capitalism or socialism, it depends. However, the environments also change people. So that's why now people are very much looking at money as a reward or as a prestige of an individual. So it makes young people nowadays is actually bertuhankan wang as part of their life achievement. So if you look at MLM now, they always brand themselves as having a lot of money, you know. So that environment, even though it's capitalism or socialism, that change people's attitudes and people's mind about money. Terlajak laris, for example, show the money. Ku putih and everything. That, in a way, is actually making our youngsters, which is actually just develop a little bit of their amygdala, to think about their life, looking up money as one of the prestigious things in their life. So if I would like to answer your question, I would rather not to be biased between capitalism or socialism. But in a way, I could say there are a few people who are unhappy also in the socialism world. There are also people who are happy in capitalism world. All in all, it's about how you put yourself and make yourself happy and grateful of whatever you have now that has given to you. Because otherwise there will be no hierarchy. Kalau semua orang jadi profesor, siapa yang nak jadi tukang sapu? So, in a way, I'm going to be a tukang sapu yang happy and grateful with what I have. And at the same time, someone wants to become a professor that is happy and grateful of what he has been achieved. So, in my opinion, this is just my humble opinion, I could say, if I look at on the philosophical part, all right, it depends on the individuals, how you should put yourself in the states of being happy or unhappy.
Thank you, Prof. So, very enlightening answer. No yes, no yes, no. So it's for us to digest and decide. Yeah, it's a neutral answer. It's for you to decide. Okay, any other question? Yes, please, gentlemen.
Bismillah. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Professor Nick Maheran. My name is Muhammad Shafiq, PhD student at UTM. I just entered the hall, so I missed your presentation, but I did go through your paper before lunch. So I think it's a very robust paper, and I think you're onto something. I'm glad somebody from entrepreneurship is looking into this. But I think this is where my point, when I mentioned before with the previous professor, is that I think, okay, but since you mentioned you may need some help, okay, I think with regards to the previous question, either capitalism or socialism, I think from the Islamic philosophical tradition, Islamic economics, the genuine one, is neither capitalist nor socialist. It's in between. Now, this unfortunately has not been properly articulated by the discipline of Islamic economics since the 70s, is because they have been conceptually co-opted into the capitalist framework. Therefore, so if we talk about Islamic philosophical tradition, it has its own worldview. It has its own key concepts, including happiness. It is similar to what Aristotle speak of eudaimonia, but it's much more deeper than that. It is sa'adah in the Holy Quran, and it's been expounded for centuries by the Muslim philosophers. So I think perhaps concepts like this would be very instructive for your research, because the concepts in the Islamic philosophical tradition has its own internal logic. Wallahu alam. Thank you.
Thank you to the gentleman from UTM. He is definitely a PhD candidate, I think. And it's not for me to comment. I think I better reserve it to the professor.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the papers that I have written is basically westernized kind of opinions, right? It's just that I am trying to embed the Islamic perspective into it, where religiosity, values, and self-control is actually part of contributing factors towards self-fulfilling. Yes, you give me some ideas of putting more on Islamic perspective into the happiness model. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Seems like there are many more to ask questions. Yes, gentlemen. Okay, yes, Mr. Uncle, yes.
Uncle Penjen. Right, thank you very much, moderator, and for the opportunity for me to ask questions. Appears to me from the presentations now that the speaker viewed happiness as an end, which is very much Aristotelian and theological, whereas modern philosophers are viewing happiness as a process. There's no end to it. And also happiness is very much, as you said, it's now contextual. Of course, if we see happiness as an end, there's no end to it. So what's your view? Because basically what I'm trying to say is that happiness should not be viewed as an end, but as a process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Uncle, for his words of wisdom. I pass to Professor.
Yes, Uncle, I agree very much with you. So that's why in my model, I put happiness and satisfaction is part of conceptualizing well-being. So I agree, happiness is not an end. It is a process, yes. But in order for you to achieve well-being, in a way, well-being being defined as many, but of course, well-being is when you feel grateful of what you have, and you feel that your life is actually meaningful, but within that well-being, you must feel the happiness there. And you must be satisfied with what you have. So again, not to say that I disagree with Uncle. I mean, if you look at on the models that I've been putting in, the happiness and satisfaction is how I conceptualize well-being. So I agree in a way that happiness is not the end of it, but happiness is part of it. So when we talk about happiness index, it is actually one portion of how to measure well-being. And there are also another index, they call it satisfaction index. So if we combine happiness index plus satisfaction index, then you can measure well-being. So for me, happiness is part and parcels of have a social well-being or self-well-being. Or am I answering right? Okay. So I mean, I agree very much. I agree very much that at the end of the day, there are always arguments about where is satisfaction towards happiness and self-well-being. For me, self-well-being is actually contain happiness and satisfaction.
Thank you, Prof. I reserve the last for the best, the gentleman. Yep.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Moderator and Professor Nick. My question, I have just a very small comment and a question. So, in Islam, meaning of life in Quran, Allah have not created men except that they should serve me and should believe in one God and do good. God created man superior to any other living creature. He says in Quran, we have created man in the best image. So that means this man is superior on earth. This means that this superiority gives man the ability to progress both materially and spiritually. And following or fulfilling God's commands, like doing righteous things in daily life, for example, eating halal, wearing modest clothes, being good to others, saying good things to others, eating good, and all these, good things. So the question then comes here. Shall we say failure as a human being to incorporate material well and spiritual well is the thing that caused us not to understand the purpose of life? And when you see, when I listen, your review, you have been referring philosophers. And when I listen, their idea is contradicting. When it's saying this thing, and when it's saying this thing. For example, if you apply meaning of life, the Maslow, framework or hierarchy, we have different levels. And these, different levels are not inclusive, because one cannot reach self-actualization, and he may pass away before that. So then, to my understanding, it is not inclusive.
Can you focus on the question, please?
Yeah. So, can't we say, lack of understanding the spiritual beings and material beings is the major cause that led us not to understand the purpose of life? And how can we incorporate these two things?
Okay, thank you to the Mr. Ustad question. I pass to the professor to respond.
Okay. In Islam, they always say, bekerjalah sehingga, macam mana? Bekerjalah seolah-olah kita akan hidup selama-lamanya. Beribadatlah, andai kata kita akan mati esoknya. So in a way, what you are saying, okay, I'm so sorry. In English they say, work as if like you are going to live ever after. Or, beribadat tu apa? Pray to Allah as if like you are going to die tomorrow. So that's a proverb in Islam, which is again jive with what you asked just now. Is about spirituality versus material. Meaning, you have to work as if like you will live ever after. Because in order to live, you need to earn a living. And to earn a living is by working. Or maybe by any means of getting money or whatever to survive. So, meaning of life in Islam, I could say that we need to have both of spirituality and materialism. But materialism doesn't mean money per se. Materialism is about possession, it's about things or resources that we have behind us. Is of course money part of it, partners is another part of it, surroundings, people that we love is part of it. So we have to work taking care of whoever we have surrounding us as if like we are with them ever after. But definitely we have to pray to Allah to say, whatever Muslims always pray is three things. Ya Allah, ya Tuhanku, permudahkanlah segala-galanya untukku, murahkanlah rezekiku, dan baikilah amalanku. Okay? So in a way, I agree very much. But I think, yes, there's no research that has been looking into both perspectives. So if any of the PhD students wants to looking on the new theory of well-being, of materialism and spiritualism, please welcome. So for me, if I would like to answer your long questions with shorts, is that yes, in Islam, we ask to have both materialism and spirituality as part of our life philosophy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Then that would be the last question we have to address, because I have to reserve for the last and the best speaker, Stephen Roy. So herewith, we rest our case. Thank you very much, audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of paper 3, and we would like to thank Professor Dr. Nik Maheran Dik Muhammad from University Malaysia Kelantan, who has presented her thoughtful views and ideas. Many thanks to Associate Professor Dr. Haji Rusmaini bin Haji Tasmin from University Tun Hussein On Malaysia as the moderator. As a token of appreciation, we would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Rashidi bin Abdul Hamid, ESCO World Philosophical Forum Malaysian National Branch, to present souvenirs as token of appreciation to both of them. Please welcome. Please welcome Professor Dr. Nik Maheran Nik Muhammad from University Malaysia Kelantan to receive the souvenirs. And next, please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Haji Rusmaini bin Haji Tasmin from University Tun Hussein On Malaysia as the moderator to receive the souvenirs. We would like to thank Mr. Muhammad Rashidi bin Abdul Hamid for presenting the souvenirs.